Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing a bit of a forecast discussion. It's going to be quite an in-depth, quite a technical video. We're going to be discussing the potential for possibly some storms or convection moving across the English Channel during this evening and into the early hours of tomorrow, possibly bringing some lightning strikes, some heavy rain, and it's nothing extremely noteworthy, but it could be the first kind of proper convective event of the year, so I thought maybe I'll just do a quick discussion on it, just for fun mainly, just to see how things go. But so let's get started. So this is my current outlook, which I have my convective outlook. The green area that shows a marginal risk or kind of a lower risk of lightning, but anywhere within these regions could see the odd lightning strike or two, especially kind of through this area across England and Wales. And then we have a very small slight region in the yellow here, which denotes kind of regions with a still small chance of lightning, but a slightly higher chance of lightning, and it's quite a compact slight as well, but confidence is actually quite low. But through this region we could see kind of a slightly higher chance of some thunderstorms and the odd lightning strike or two, possibly more, during this evening and into the early hours of tomorrow, specifically kind of from about maybe about 10-11 o'clock through to about 3-4 o'clock. That's when I think things could really get going, especially around kind of 3-4 o'clock, and then moving kind of northwards in this direction. If we take a look, this is the interactive version, as you can see here. If we just zoom in, see what areas, so mainly to the southwest of London, Portsmouth, Southampton, kind of just till south of Reading, and then it goes east until Brighton, basically. So that's kind of this small region through the southeast parts of England. And I'm not saying all the lightning is going to occur here. It could occur further west, further east. It could not occur at all. Could be maybe more limited to the coastal regions, but I thought we'll just kind of talk about the weather a bit. So before we look at all of the models, anything like that, it's always important to kind of get a picture of what is going on with the weather right now. So we're going to start by looking at some observations. So this is satellite imagery here. This is water vapor satellite imagery. You can see this curl in the cloud. This is a low pressure system which is sitting just to the west of the UK, specifically to the west of Ireland actually. And you can see we have these kind of greener colours like this, moving kind of in a shield around to the north and to the east of it, kind of by this line. And that's because we're bringing in this southerly flow like this, which is quite moist, and then on the other side of it we have this kind of much drier air associated with the trough, which is going to be moving kind of through, kind of not moving through, hanging stationary kind of around like this through kind of the next day or so. But we've got this warm southerly air like this. If I run it through, you can see kind of we've got southerly air, and then notice how kind of in this region we have some of the clouds kind of moving slightly turned like this, if you can follow the mouse or that arrow, whatever, you know, the cursor. But you can see, so we have winds coming in like this, and then with that kind of upper level low pressure system just near kind of Spain and Portugal, and then we have this kind of moist flow with these kind of greener colours, and we also have a little bit of kind of energy, if you like, or a small shortwave which is kind of sitting around this region, and that's going to be pushing north in this southerly flow and triggering those thunderstorms. So if we take a look at the current radar right now, this is on my website, so this is not the real version, so don't try searching this up if you wanted to see it, but we kind of see we have these kind of showers and storms here which are associated with this kind of energy, just kind of around here. Okay, here we go. So those are kind of associated with this energy. We're going to start to use the models a bit now. But you can see this is a GFS model. This is going to go for 3 o'clock. This is being recorded at 2:48. But you can see here we have this deep upper level low with lots of kind of energy around. You see these purple colours, that signifies energy, and we can see we also have this kind of more kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but you can see we have this area where the kind of few more wavy lines, if you like, and that will be kind of moving slightly more northwards like that, and that is our shortwave. And this is kind of right now triggering a couple of showers and thunderstorms over parts of Portugal and Spain like this. If we match it up to the high-res Rome model, you can see it might be a bit overdone on intensity, but if we go for 3 o'clock, you can see it's generally got the right regions, perhaps a little bit further currently a bit further west than the model, but we can see we do have now showers and storms starting to form with that little shortwave area of energy currently over Spain and Portugal. But what we will see is this will begin. Sorry, this is for the American weather. You can see this will start to move north, crossing the Bay of Biscay during the evening. It will make its way towards England and the UK, and that's going to provide our focus for storms. So if I look at the winds at about 1.5 kilometers, you can see this kind of region. Now this region here of kind of enhanced flow at 1.5 kilometers, 30 to 40 knots or so. And as you can see, we can trace that back to right about now. Here it is over kind of just leaving that parts of the Iberian Peninsula where we have those storms now, and it's going to be kind of moving in this direction. We might be able to see it on the satellite imagery actually. I think this is it. You can see it's starting to kind of move off now. It's around this region, starting to move off now in that southerly flow. And you can see it's quite a minor disturbance, but it's definitely there. You can see here it's crossing the Bay of Biscay. Like so, you can see those ice bars slightly pulling together there, and those wind bars, you can see just there it is right there, that enhancement of the low level flow at midnight. You can see over northern France. This is what's going to be our trigger for storms during the night. So there you go. There we have this kind of shortwave right here, moving into parts of, crossing the channel, moving into central and southern parts by 3 AM, and you can see it continues northwards at 6 AM, like so. But this is going to be our focus for development, and we're likely to already have storms developing by the time, the time it's in northern France, because you've got this, you've got area of lift, and you've got kind of warm, moist air coming, southerly warm moist air, and so it's going to kind of create a zone of thunderstorms, and those will continue through the night, eventually making their way into parts of the southern UK. If we zoom in a bit, we might be able to try and get an idea. So basically, like I said, we have this lift. If I go forward, so this is our shortwave right here. We have this strong area of lift over parts of the UK. This is going to bring a focus for thunderstorms to develop, and then we also have this southerly flow. So look at the dew points. These are low dew points, 10 to 11 degrees, not quite what you want. But if we take a look at some forecast soundings, you can see this is not great right here, but we can see there should be kind of a small area of elevated instability. It's very thin. You can see we have a stable layer at the surface, and then we have this very small area of elevated instability. So elevated means its inflow layer is above the ground. It's not really showing up, but basically we have an area of instability. Now if we switch to this model, again, I don't really like to use models too much, but as you can see, within this kind of warm, moist layer, we are going to kind of bring this area, as you can see, these kind of green colours, where atmosphere will be a bit more unstable through the mid-levels, perhaps kind of extending eastward like this in extent. But this is where we're going to see perhaps some instability, which will drive potentially some lightning. So like I said, we have we have that shortwave energy. Well, I just showed it to you, but it's kind of over here, and we can trace that back now to kind of over this region, and in that southerly flow we know it's going to move north, so we know we're going to have our lift, and then we also know we've got southerly flow, which is going to bring some moisture. So we need a couple of things with thunderstorms: moisture, lift. But there's two main things, and then also if we want some kind of more severe thunderstorms, a bit of shear. And we know we're going to have this lift. We can see the lift; it's going to happen. But we also need moisture. So if we take a look at the analysed surface diagram, you can see we've got that southerly airflow, and that southerly airflow is immediately kind of taking the air from kind of Mediterranean over parts of France, and you can see it's not the most moist air mass I've ever seen, something really crazy, but in comparison to what we've got across the UK, it's a lot more moist and a lot more kind of conducive to even elevated thunderstorms. But you can see kind of we've got these 10-degree dew points, 12-degree dew points, 9 to 10-degree dew points, denoting where kind of part of that more moist plume is. And then notice across the UK we have those 0-degree dew points and 1-degree dew points. So if I just zoom in here, let me show you. If you take a look right now, you can see we have those slightly higher dew points. So kind of 7 to 10 degrees, and then further north we have kind of a subtle kind of wind shift here, but further north of that wind shift we have much lower dew points, -2, 0, 1, 2, 0. So you can see we've kind of got some sort of surface boundary here, and behind that we have our moist flow. So essentially we've got our lift, and now we kind of do look like we've got a good area of moisture to allow storms to develop. And it's like I said, it's not the best moisture I've ever seen. You can see only 10 kind of to 11 degree dew points, though it will allow kind of this area of instability to develop. And if we get our lift with our moisture, we could get storms. And if we get storms with around 500 joules per kilogram of CAPE, 400, 500 joules per kilogram of CAPE, they may not be particularly active, but they do have the potential to produce lightning strikes. And there's one more thing which is a bit conducive to this. But if I take a forecast sounding here, with that very, very elevated instability, there we go, you can see that kind of between this white dashed line and that red thick line, that's where we have the elevated instability, stable layer at the surface. But take a look at this, we do have quite strongly sheared profiles. There's not much directional shear, it's mainly speed shear. But you can see at around 6 kilometers we have winds of kind of 60 knots or so, like you can see it here. And if we take a look within the surface to the 6 kilometer layer, we have a shear of around 53 knots. 53 knots, and then in surface to 8 kilometer layer we have a shear of about 59 to 60 knots. So we do have quite strong shear, and so given that we have a lack of instability for massive thunderstorms, only 500 joules per kilogram or so, we do actually kind of get made up for that with quite good wind profiles. So despite lower end instability, we might actually see kind of slightly more active storms at times because of the fact that we're going to have shear. So they may get slightly organized, and that's why this is slightly higher end slight outlook. It's not quite an enhanced because still I've got my uncertainty because instability is still low. However, some of these storms could potentially be active at times, so that's why we do have the slight risk, and then we have a surrounding marginal risk. And always on these kind of setups, we do tend to see the eastern side of any kind of areas of precipitation. So we've got that short wave, we're likely going to have kind of precipitation forming with that lift I was talking about earlier, kind of moving up like this area. The western side is probably going to be quite void of lightning, there's not going to be a lot of it. However, the eastern side, you've got that more moist air, that kind of slightly higher instability. Take a look at that instability right there on the eastern side of things, and that possibly will allow storms to develop with perhaps a bit more lightning than like if there was anyway, I don't know what I'm saying, just ignore that kind of what I said. Finally, if we're going to take a look at the models, I like to leave this till last. I like to kind of get a picture of everything first. But you can see this does make sense. We will have this kind of area of lift moving through like this. We can already see that area of lift. We can trace it back to kind of around this region right now. You can see this model does develop thunderstorms, and you have to think, does this make sense? Is the model making sense with what its output is showing? Because if you kind of trust the model and the model gets it wrong, you're going to get it wrong also. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I get it completely wrong as well. I'm not really an expert, but you can see this model does make sense. We do have this area of lift moving through the channel, and it is going to be experiencing elevated instability, like you see here, which we can already see kind of. We've got that kind of those slightly higher dew points across parts of the continent, 12, 11 degree dew points moving north. And so you do think, does this make sense? And to be honest, I do think this may be a touch overdone because it's not a lot of instability. There is some shear though, but we have kind of this broad area of precipitation with some aspects of it perhaps turning a bit thundery. That does potentially kind of hold some credibility. I'm not too sure on the eastward extent of this. I'm not sure why it's kind of suggesting perhaps maybe subtle boundary like this. So there could be some eastward extent. I'm not too sure on that, but this would be one of those mesoscale features. And so we can't really trace that back to the satellite imagery right now. Could be some sort of outflow. Wouldn't be surprised if we had a couple of showers on this area, but to be honest, I think kind of into parts of Kent and more southeastern England, I don't think the lightning potential will be as high. But then as storms move kind of northwards, they will begin to weaken as illustrated by this model. And this model also has got placement of current features south in kind of France, Spain, Portugal, kind of quite good right now. So I'm not going to discount this. This does look like a fairly reasonable scenario to have a couple of heavy showers and storms moving up through the channel, perhaps turning a bit kind of electrically active on the eastern side. And like I said, we do have that shear. So there's no reason to suggest there won't be any lightning. I do think we'll have lightning. My biggest question is how active it will be. There is a potential couple of kind of storms could become quite active, though we have seen even in these elevated setups in recent years that storms can collapse. So I mean, always these kind of imported convection from the continent setups, they always have a lot of uncertainty. However, I mean, I think this could perhaps, like I said, I'm just kind of repeating what I'm saying, going over the same thing, but I think this could kind of give a couple of lightning strikes, perhaps some more active thunderstorms, and that's why I've gone with this slight risk. Though, if trends kind of change within observations, then I will perhaps have to move it kind of east, move it a bit west. If I had to choose a trend, I mean choose a trend, it's a bit funny to say this, but if I had to say where the trend might go, perhaps a slight trend to the west. Maybe if you're kind of through this region, Bournemouth, Swanage, a bit west of Southampton, that could perhaps get on the lightning, though I don't think it will go much. I don't think these normal areas, Kent, will see much in the way of lightning. That's my current take on it. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. It was quite a bit of a ramble. It was a bit of a mess because I hadn't really planned what I was going to say. Hopefully you still enjoyed it. You still managed to get a bit of information here and there. Thank you for watching though. If you enjoyed the video, do like and do subscribe. And have a nice day. Hope you get some storms. Bye.